Hey, boys and girls, and welcome to another session of Reading with Redden, where we are continuing to read our book, Wonder by R.J. Palacio. Boys and girls, I'm getting really sad because we are almost to the end of our story. I guess I could be getting really excited too because I really want to see how things turn out for Augie. I hope everything works out for him in the end. So, when we last left off, when we were reading the last time, Augie and Jack had went to go use the bathroom on their field trip, but the line was so long and Jack was very impatient. So Jack wanted to use the bathroom in the woods. Well, as they both got finished using the bathroom, they started to smell something. It kind of smelled like firecrackers and they didn't know what it was. So as we continue reading today, I think we might find out what that smell was. Also, we're going to talk about a few things once we're finished reading because there's going to be a couple things that happen today and it's going to make you be like, OMG, like what? So let's get reading. Here we go. Alien. We headed back the way we came in the direction of the giant screen. That's when we walked straight into a group of kids we didn't know. They just come out of the woods, doing stuff I'm sure they didn't want their teachers to know about. I could smell the smoke now, the smell of both firecrackers and cigarettes. They pointed a flashlight at us. There were 6 of them, 4 boys and 2 girls. They looked like they were in 7th grade. What school are you from? One of the boys called out. Beecher Prep. Jack started to answer when all of a sudden one of the girls started screaming. Oh my God, she shrieked, holding her hand over her eyes like she was crying. I figured maybe a huge bug had flown into her face or something. No way, one of the boys cried out, and he started flicking his hand in the air like he just touched something hot. And then he covered his mouth. No freaking way, man, no freaking way. All of them started half laughing and half covering their eyes now, pushing each other and cursing loudly. What is that? Said the kid who was pointing the flashlight at us. And it was only then that I realized that the flashlight was pointed right at my face. And that what they were talking about, screaming about, was me. Let's get out of here, Jack said to me quietly, and he pulled me by my sweatshirt sleeve and started walking away from me. Wait, yelled the guy with the flashlight, cutting us off. He pointed the flashlight right in my face again. And now he was only about 5 feet away. Oh man, he said, shaking his head, his mouth wide open. What happened to your face? Stop it, Eddie, said one of the girls. I didn't know we were watching Lord of the Rings tonight, he said. Look, guys, it's Gollum. This made his friends hysterical. Again, we tried to walk away from them, and again, the kid named Eddie cut us off. He was at least a head taller than Jack, who was about a head taller than me, so the guy looked huge to me. No, man, it's Alien, said the other kids. No, it's an orc, laughed Eddie, pointing to the flashlight in my face again. This time he was right in front of us. Leave him alone, okay? Jack said, pushing his hand, holding the flashlight away. Make me, answered Eddie, pointing the flashlight in Jack's face now. What's your problem, dude? Said Jack. Your boyfriend's my problem. Jack, let's go, I said, pulling him by the arm. Oh man, it talks, screamed Eddie, shining the flashlight in my face again. Then one of the other guys threw a firecracker at our feet. Jack tried to push past Eddie, but Eddie shoved his hands into Jack's shoulders and pushed him hard, which made Jack fall backwards. Eddie! Screamed one of the girls. Look, I said, stepping in front of Jack and holding my hands up in the air like a traffic cop. We're a lot shorter than you guys. Are you talking to me, Freddy Krueger? I don't think you want to mess with me, you ugly freak, said Eddie, and this was the point where I knew I should run as fast as I could, but Jack was still on the ground and I wasn't about to leave. Yo, dude! A new voice came from behind us. What's up, man? Eddie spun around and pointed his flashlights towards the voice. For a second, I couldn't believe who it was. Leave them alone, dude, said Amos, while Miles and Henry was right behind him. Says who? Said one of the guys with Eddie. Just leave them alone, dude, Amos repeated calmly. Are you a freak too? Said Eddie. They're all a bunch of freaks, said one of his friends. Amos didn't answer them but looked at us. Come on, guys, let's go. Mr. Tushman's waiting on us. I knew that was a lie, but I helped Jack get up, and we started walking over to Amos. Then, out of the blue, the Eddie guy grabbed my hood as I walked past him, yanking it really hard so I was pulled backwards and fell flat on my back. It was a hard fall, and I hurt my elbow pretty hard on the rock. I couldn't really see what happened afterwards, except that Amos rammed into the Eddie guy like a monster truck, and they both fell to the ground next to me. Everything got really crazy after that. Someone pulled me up by my sleeve and yelled, "Run!" And someone else screamed, "Get him!" at the same time. And for a few seconds, I actually had two people pulling the sleeves of my sweatshirt in opposite directions. I heard them both cursing until my sweatshirt ripped, and the first guy yanked me by my arm and started pulling me behind him as we ran, which I did as fast as I could. I could hear footsteps just behind us, chasing us, and voices shouting and girls screaming. But it was so dark, I didn't know whose voices they were. Only that everything felt like we were underwater. We were running like crazy, and it was pitch black. And whenever I started to slow down, the guy pulling me by my arm would yell, "Don't stop!" Voices in the dark. Finally, after what seemed like forever of running, someone yelled, "I think we lost them." "Amos?" "I'm right here," said Amos's voice a few feet behind us. "We can stop," Miles yelled from farther up. "Jack!" I yelled. "Whoa," said Jack, "I'm here." "I can't see a thing." "Are you sure we lost them?" Henry asked, letting go of my arm. That's when I realized that it was him who had been pulling on me as we ran. "Yeah, shh, let's listen." We all got super quiet, listening for footsteps in the dark. All we could hear were the crickets and frogs from our own crazy panting. We were out of breath, stomachs hurting, bodies bent over our knees. "We lost them," said Henry. "Whoa, that was insane." "What happened to the flashlight?" "I dropped it." "How did you guys know?" said Jack. "We saw them before. They look like jerks." "We just rammed into them," I said to Amos. "I know, right?" laughed Amos. "He didn't even see it coming," said Miles. "He was like, 'Are you a freak too?' And you were like, 'Bam,'" said Jack. "Bam," said Amos, throwing a fake punch in the air. "But after I tackled him, I was like, 'Run! Amos, you smuck! He's 10 times bigger than you!' And I got up and started running as fast as I could. We all started laughing. "I grabbed Helgi and I was like, 'Run!'" said Henry. "I didn't even know it was you pulling me," I answered. "That was wild," said Amos, shaking his head. "Totally wild." "Your lip is bleeding, dude." "I got in a couple good punches," answered Amos, wiping his lip. "I think they were 7th graders. They were huge." "Losers," Henry shouted really loudly, but we all shushed him. We listened for a second to make sure no one had heard him. "Where the heck are we?" said Amos. "I can't even see the screen." "I think we're in the cornfields," answered Henry. "Duh, we're in the cornfield," said Miles, pushing a cornstalk at Henry. "Okay, I know exactly where we are," said Amos. "We have to go back in this direction. That'll take us to the other side of the field." "Yo, dude," said Jack, hand high in the air. "That was really cool of you guys to come back for us. Really cool, thanks." "No problem," answered Amos, high-fiving Jack, and then Miles and Henry high-fived him too. "Yeah, dudes, thanks," I said, holding my palm up, like Jack had just had, though I wasn't sure if they'd high-five me too. Amos looked at me and nodded. "It was cool how you stood your ground, little dude," he said, high-fiving me. "Yeah, Augie," said Miles, high-fiving me too. "You were like, 'We're the little guys.'" I didn't know what else to say, I laughed. "Very cool," said Henry, and he high-fived me too. "Sorry I ripped your sweatshirt." I looked down and my sweatshirt was completely torn down the middle. One sleeve was ripped off and the other was so stretched out it was hanging down to my knees. "Hey, your elbow's bleeding," said Jack. "Yeah," I shrugged. It was starting to hurt a lot. "You okay?" said Jack, seeing my face. I nodded. Suddenly, I felt like crying, and I was trying really hard not to do that. "Wait, your hearing aids are gone," said Jack. What? I yelled, touching my ears. The hearing aid band was definitely gone. That's why I felt like I was underwater. Oh no, I said, and that's when I couldn't hold it in anymore. Everything that had just happened kind of hit me, and I couldn't help it. I started to cry, like big crying, what Mom would call the waterworks. I was so embarrassed I hid my face in my arm, but I couldn't stop the tears from coming. The guys were really nice to me, though. They patted me on the back. You're okay, dude. It's okay, they said. You're one brave little dude. You know that? Said Amos, putting his arm around my shoulders. And then I kept on crying. He put his arms around me like my dad would have done and let me cry. The Emperor's Guard. We backtracked through the grass for a good 10 minutes to see if we could find my hearing aids, but it was too dark to see anything. We literally had to hold on to each other's shirts and walk in single file so we wouldn't trip over one another. It was like black ink had been poured all around. This is hopeless, said Henry. They could be anywhere. Maybe we can come back with a flashlight, answered Amos. No, it's okay, I said. Let's just go back. Thanks, though. We walked back towards the cornfields and then cut through them until the back of the green giant screen came into view. Since it was facing away from us, we didn't get any light from the screen at all until we walked around to the edge of the woods again. That's when we finally started to see a little light. There was no sign of the 7th graders anywhere. Where do you think they went? Said Jack. Back to the food truck, said Amos. They'll probably think we're going to report them. Are we? Said Henry. They looked at me. I shook my head. Okay, said Amos. But, little dude, don't walk around here alone, okay? If you need to go somewhere, tell us and we'll go with you. Okay, I nodded. As we got closer to the screen, I could hear, high on the hill was a lonely gourd, and could smell the cotton candy from one of the concession stands near the food trucks. There were lots of kids milling around in this area, so I pulled what was left of my hoodie over my head and kept my face down, hands in my pockets, as we made our way through the crowd. It had been a long time since I'd been without my hearing aids, and it felt like miles under earth. It felt like that song Miranda used to sing to me. Ground control to Major Tim. Your circuit's dead. There's something wrong. I did notice as I walked that Amos had sitting right next to me, and Jack was close on the other side of me, and Miles was right in front of us, and Henry was in the back of us. They were surrounding me as we walked through the crowd of kids, like I had my own Emperor's Guard. Sleep. Then they came out of the narrow valley, and at once she saw the reason. There stood Peter and Edmund and all the rest of Aslan's army, fighting desperately against the crowd of horrible creatures, whom she had seen last night, only now in the daylight. They looked even stranger and more evil and more deformed. I stopped there. I'd been reading for over an hour and sleep still didn't come. It was almost 2 a.m. Everyone else was asleep. I had my flashlight on under my sleeping bag, and maybe the light was why I couldn't sleep, but I was too afraid to turn it off. I was afraid of how dark it was outside the sleeping bag. When we got back to our section in front of the movie screen, no one had even noticed we'd been gone. Mr. Tushman and Miss Rubin and Summer and all the rest of the kids were just watching the movie. They had no clue how something bad had happened to me and Jack. It's so weird how that can be. How you could have had a night that's the worst night in your life, but to everyone else, it's just an ordinary night. Like, on my calendar at home, I would mark this as being one of the most horrific days of my life. This and the day Daisy died. But for the rest of the world, this was just an ordinary day. Or maybe it was even a good day. Maybe someone won the lottery today. Amos, Miles, and Henry brought me and Jack over to where we'd been sitting before, with Summer and Maya and Reed, and then they went and sat where they had been sitting before, with Zenamina and Savannah in their group. In a way, everything was exactly how we had left it before we went looking for the toilets. The sky was the same. The movie was the same. Everyone's faces were the same. Mine was the same. But something was different. Something had changed. I could see Amos and Miles and Henry telling their group what had just happened. I knew they were talking about it because they kept looking over at me while they were talking. Even though the movie was still playing, people were whispering about it in the dark. News like that spreads fast. It was that everyone was talking about it on the bus ride back to the cabins. All the girls, even the girls I didn't know very well, were asking me if I was okay. The boys were all talking about getting revenge on that group of 7th grade jerks, just trying to figure out what school they were from. I wasn't planning on telling the teachers about any of what had happened, but they found out anyway. Maybe it was a torn sweatshirt in the bloody elbow, or maybe it's just that teachers hear everything. When we got back to the camp, Mr. Tushman took me to the first aid office, and while I was getting my elbow cleaned and bandaged up by the camp nurse, Mr. Tushman and the camp director were in the next room talking with Amos and Jack, and Henry and Miles, trying to get a description of the troublemakers. When he asked me about them a little later, I said I couldn't remember their faces at all, which wasn't true. It's their faces that I kept seeing every time I closed my eyes to sleep. The look of total horror on the girl's face when she first saw me. The way the kid with the flashlight, Eddie, looked at me as he talked to me, like he hated me. Like a lamb to the slaughter. I remember Dad saying that ages ago, but tonight I think I finally got what it meant. Aftermath. Mom was waiting for me in front of the school, along with all the other parents when the bus arrived. Mr. Tushman told me on the bus ride that they had called my parents to tell them there had been a situation the night before, but that everyone was fine. He said the camp director and several of the counselors were looking for the hearing aid in the morning while we were all swimming at the lake, but they couldn't find it anywhere. Broarwood would reimburse us for the cost of the hearing aids, he said. They felt bad about what had happened. I wonder if Eddie had taken my hearing aids with him as a kind of souvenir, something to remember the orc. Mom gave me a tight hug when I got off the bus, but she didn't slam me with questions like I thought she might. Her hug felt good, and I didn't shake it off like some of the other kids were doing with their parents' hugs. The bus driver started unloading our duffel bags, and I went to find mine while Mom talked to Mr. Tushman and Miss Rubin, who had walked over to her. As I rolled my bag towards her, a lot of kids who don't usually say anything to me were nodding hello or patting my back as I walked by them. Ready? Mom said when she saw me. She took my duffel bag, and I didn't even try to hold on to it. I was fine with her carrying it. If she had wanted to carry me on her shoulders, I would have been fine with that too, to be truthful. As we started to walk away, Mr. Tushman gave me a quick, tight hug, but didn't say anything. Home. Mom and I didn't talk much the whole walk home, and when we got to the front stoop, I automatically looked in the front bay window because I forgot for a second that Daisy wasn't going to be there like always, perched on the sofa with her front paws on the windowsill, waiting for us to come home. It made me kind of sad when we walked inside. As soon as we did, Mom dropped my duffel bag and wrapped her arms around me and kissed me on my head and on my face like she was breathing me in. "It's okay, Mom, I'm fine," I said, smiling. She nodded and took my face in her hands. Her eyes were shiny. "I know you are," she said. "I missed you so much, Augie." "I missed you too." I could tell she wanted to say a lot of things, but she was stopping herself. "Are you hungry?" she asked. "Starving. Can I get a grilled cheese?" "Of course," she answered, and immediately started to make the sandwich while I took my jacket off and sat down at the kitchen counter. "Where's Via?" I asked. "She's coming home with Dad today." "Boy, did she miss you, Augie," Mom said. "Yeah, she would have loved the nature reserve. You know what movie they played? The Sound of Music." "You'll have to tell her that." "So, do you want to hear about the bad part or the good part first?" I asked after a few minutes, leaning my head on my hand. "Whatever you want to talk about," she answered. "Well, except for last night, I had an awesome time," I said. "I mean, it was just awesome. That's why I'm so bummed. I feel like they've ruined the whole trip for me." "No, sweetie, don't let them do that to you. You were there for more than 48 hours, and that awful part lasted 1 hour. Don't let them take that away from you, okay?" "I know," I nodded. Did Mr. Tushman tell you about the hearing aids? Yes, he called us this morning. Was Dad mad because they're so expensive? Oh my gosh, of course not, Augie. He just wanted to know that you were all right. That's all that matters to us. And that you don't let those thugs ruin your trip. I kind of laughed at the way she said the word thugs. What? She asked. Thugs, I teased her. That's kind of an old-fashioned word. Okay, jerks, morons, imbeciles, she said, flipping over the sandwich in the pan. Cretinos, as my mother would have said. Whatever you want to call them, if I saw them on the street, I would have. She shook her head. They were pretty big, Mom, I smiled. 7th graders, I think. She shook her head. 7th graders? Mr. Tushman didn't tell us that. Oh, my goodness. Did he tell you how Jack stood up for me, I said? And Amos was like, bam! He ran into the leader. They both crashed to the ground like in a real fight. It was pretty awesome. Amos's lip was bleeding and everything. He told us there was a fight, but, she said, looking at me with her eyebrows raised, I'm just so grateful you and Amos and Jack are fine. When I think about what could have happened, she trailed off, flipping the grilled cheese again. My Montauk hoodie got totally shredded. Well, that can be replaced, she answered. She lifted the grilled cheese onto a plate and put the plate in front of me on the counter. Milk or white grape juice? Chocolate milk, please. I started devouring the sandwich. Oh, can you do that special way you make it with the froth? How did you and Jack end up on the edge of the woods in the first place? She said, pouring the milk into a tall glass. Jack had to go to the bathroom, I answered. My mouth was full. As I was talking, she spooned in the chocolate powder and started rolling a small whisk between her palms really fast. But there was a huge line and we didn't want to wait. So we went towards the woods to pee. She looked up me while she was whisking. I know she was thinking we shouldn't have done that. The chocolate milk in the glass had a 2-inch froth on top. That looks good, Mom, thanks. And then what happened? She said, putting the glass in front of me. I took a long drink of the chocolate milk. Is it okay if we don't talk about it anymore right now? Oh, okay. I promise I'll tell you all about it later, when Dad and Via come home. I'll tell you every detail. I just don't want to have to keep telling the whole story over and over, you know? Absolutely. I finished my sandwich in 2 more bites and gulped down the chocolate milk. Wow, you practically inhaled that sandwich. Do you want another one? She said. I shook my head and wiped my mouth with the back of my hand. Mom, am I always going to have to worry about jerks like that? I said. Like when I grow up. Is it always going to be like this? She didn't answer right away, but took my plate and glass and put them in the sink and rinsed them with water. There are always going to be jerks in the world, Augie, she said, looking at me. But I really believe, and Daddy really believes, that there are more good people on this earth than bad people. And the good people watch out for each other and take care of each other. Just like Jack was there for you. And Amos, and the other kids. Oh yeah, Miles and Henry, I answered. They were awesome too. It's weird because Miles and Henry haven't really been nice to me at all during the year. Sometimes people surprise us, she said, rubbing the top of my head. I guess. Want another glass of chocolate milk? No, I'm good, I said. Thanks, Mom. Actually, I'm kind of tired. I didn't sleep too good last night. You should take a nap. Thanks for leaving Babu, by the way. You got my note? She smiled. I slept with him both nights. She was about to say something else when her cell phone rang, and she answered. She started beaming as she listened. Oh my goodness, really? What kind? She said excitedly. Yep, he's right here. He was about to take a nap. Want to say hi? Oh, okay. See you in 2 minutes. She clicked it off. That was Daddy, she said excitedly. He and Via are just down the block. He's not at work, I said. He left early because he couldn't wait to see you, she said. So don't take a nap quite yet. 5 seconds later, Dad and Via came through the door. I ran into Dad's arm, and he picked me up and spun me around and kissed me. He didn't let me go for a full minute until I said, Dad, it's okay. And then it was Via's turn, and she kissed me all over like she used to do when I was little. It wasn't until she stopped that I noticed this big white cardboard box that they brought in with them. What is that? I said. Open it, said Dad, smiling, and he and Mom looked at each other like they knew a secret. Come on, Augie, said Via. I opened the box. Inside was the cutest little puppy I've ever seen in my life. It was black and furry with a pointy little snout and bright black eyes and small ears that flopped down. So, boys and girls, as we finish reading today, what are you thinking about Augie's experience at camp? Everything was going so well for him, and then those 7th graders came out of nowhere and treated him so horrible. Good thing for Jack and Henry and Miles and Amos. They really took up for him. Augie even took up for himself a little bit, telling those guys, leave us alone, we're smaller than you. Has anyone bigger than you ever picked on you? How did you react to it? How did you handle the situation? What do you think about Augie's mom and what she said about there's more good people in this world than bad? Think about how you can spread good in this world. Be kind to one another. How you can have everyone in this world treating each other a better way. Just by saying hi sometimes. Holding that door again for somebody when you're walking into a building. Or just being friendly to a new face. So, I wonder how things are going to go now. It looks like Augie has a new friend at home. A new puppy. I guess we'll get to hear all about him when we read again the next time on another session of Reading with Redden. Until then, boys and girls, everyone have a great night, and I will see you again next time. See ya, bye.